Welcome to my kitchen. Today I have for you brand new one-pot recipes, which means less dishes and less time in the kitchen. So let's go ahead and get started. We are starting off making this chicken bacon ranch pasta. I'm just cutting up half of a white onion, and then to my hot bowl I added in 5 slices of bacon. Once that's fully cooked, I just transferred it to a plate with a paper towel. You will leave your bacon grease in because this is what we are going to be cooking our onions down in. So this dish I actually made for my pawpaw because he recently had surgery and I didn't want him to worry about dinner. He said it was actually really good. It did make 2 servings for him, but he did add in a can of barbecue pinto beans. If you have any pinto beans in your pantry that you want to use up, this may be the meal to add it to. Once your onions are translucent, I added in 1½ cubed chicken breast. For our seasonings, I have 1 tablespoon of ranch seasoning, 1 teaspoon of seasoned salt, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a couple of dashes of Italian seasoning, and then just pepper to finish it off. We are just going to give this a good stir to make sure that our chicken is fully cooked in all those seasonings, and then we are just going to completely cook our chicken. For our pasta, I'm using 8 ounces of penne pasta, but you can use whatever pasta you would like. And then we are going to pour in 2½ cups of chicken broth. It may have been a little bit too much chicken broth. It made it more of like a soupy consistency, but it was still okay, and it definitely added enough liquid for reheating the next day. So we are just going to add our lid to this and cook this down for about 18 to 20 minutes, just making sure that our chicken and our pasta is fully cooked. For our cheese, I added in ½ cup of cheddar cheese and ½ cup of Parmesan cheese. And then we are going to pour in ½ cup of heavy whipping cream. This is just to make it a little bit more creamy. You could definitely leave this part out if you would like. But I just stir this together for a couple more minutes, just making sure that that cheese was completely melted. This actually did make a pretty decent portion. My daughter ate a little bit of the noodles for dinner that night, and then I still had like 3 cups left or so. So I just portioned this out. That small bowl was for my daughter, and then the big bowl was for my pawpaw, and then I left the bacon on the side for him to add on later. Next, we are cooking this queso taco soup. So I have 1 red bell pepper and half of a white onion that I've just diced up. We're going to cook this down in 1 tablespoon of melted butter, but you could definitely use olive oil if you would like. Now I'm going to leave the recipe that I got inspiration from down below, but I did make a couple of changes. So once our red bell pepper and our onion are done cooking, we are going to add in 1 pound of ground beef. Now my ground beef didn't have a whole lot of grease, so I didn't drain mine, but if yours does, definitely drain it before we move on. For our seasonings, I have 1 teaspoon of cayenne powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground paprika. Now I know this sounds really heavy on the spices, but it was actually not too bad. We're going to pour in 2½ cups of beef broth, and then I added 1 can of the hot rotel. Again, if you're not a spicy person, I would definitely recommend just using the regular rotel. Now add in 2 ounces of your favorite salsa. I'm using the Walmart brand of the hot because that's what I had on hand. We are just going to mix this together, put a lid on it, and then I let mine simmer for about 30 minutes just to make sure that everything was nice and combined. Pour in 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream, and then 2 to 3 ounces of cream cheese. And then again, I stir this together for a few minutes, just making sure that that cream cheese was fully combined. This does make a lot, and it is super delicious. Now this recipe is a pork rind breakfast nacho recipe. To a hot skillet, we are going to start with about 5 to 7 slices again of bacon. While this is cooking down, we're going to get started on cracking our eggs. In our bowl, I have 5 eggs. For my seasonings, we are going to go in with 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and then 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, and then just salt and pepper at the end to taste. Whisk this together really well until everything is really smooth, and then I'm adding in 1 whole can of diced chilies. If you don't like spice, you can leave this out, but I feel like this really sets it over the edge. It was so good all mixed together. So just stir this until it is fully combined, and then we are going to go back to our bacon. Now that it is fully cooked, I'm just going to set it on a plate and set that to the side. Now I did pour out some of our bacon grease because I had a little bit too much, and you want to save your bacon grease to be able to cook with later on. I'm going to be cooking down 1 package of hot Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage. Now I didn't cook it all the way because it will be cooking a little bit more later, but once you have that out of the pan, I'm just going to be adding in my egg mixture and just cooking this to my liking. I like my eggs a little bit on the burnt side, but for this recipe I left them cooked the normal way, I guess you would say. So we are just going to take that out and set it to the side. For my pork rinds, I'm actually using this microwavable bag pork rinds. I just popped it into the microwave for a minute, layering it into our hot skillet, adding our breakfast sausage right on top, crumbling up that bacon, and then finishing off with our egg mixture. Now I will say, if I make this recipe again, I'm thinking of maybe just crumbling the pork rinds up like on top, because some of them did get a little bit chewy, kind of stuck to my teeth, but the flavor was like right there. It was really good. So once you have your eggs in there, we are just going to top this with some cheddar cheese. I placed mine in the oven at 350 for about 5 to 7 minutes, just enough for that cheese to be completely melted. But I just garnished mine with some cilantro, which I think really set it over the edge. I love the flavor that cilantro gives to a dish. And then I'm going to be adding in about 4 tablespoons of that hot Walmart salsa. Again, this just elevated it a little bit more and gave it just a nice subtle touch of heat. But this was so good. It definitely makes a good portion. I actually made about 4 servings or so, but it was just a really quick breakfast recipe to throw together. It had so much flavor and it was super delicious. All the recipes will be in the description box down below, but if you need some more dinner recipe ideas, check out this video here and I'll catch you guys there.